has no shape.
So the BLOB reboot is still happening, and we just got an update on it, and I thought I'd talk about it with you guys. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we got a news update about the BLOB reboot. Now, if you know me and you've been on this channel for quite a while, you probably know that I'm actually quite a big BLOB fan. BLOB 1988 was one of those movies that has always stuck with me. It has been a huge part of my life, and I enjoy the practical effects of it so much that I rewatch it every year, multiple times a year. It is something that I actually wanted a sequel to because I felt like the story was strong enough and what Chuck Russell did with the movie was great enough that we could have gotten another movie. But turns out that the BLOB is kind of an expensive film because practical effects of that nature, which were insane for this movie and have rivaled some of the best films of all time, including The Thing, in my opinion, cost a lot of money. They don't want to put that much up there. But we did have some hope in the future, and that was through Zombie. Rob Zombie, that is. He was going to do a iteration where I guess like the BLOB would like infect you and make you into like body snatchers, I'm assuming. And I guess that story might not fall too far from this reboot in some ways. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to give kind of what they said and then what I think about it and where I have good, positive things to say and some maybe negative things to say. So we'll get into that now. The actual thing came from comicbook.com, which they did an interview with David Goyer, who is one of the producers on the upcoming movie of the BLOB, or planned reboot of the BLOB. It's still in the works, but Fangoria kind of breaks it down in a little bit more digestible way, so it's not just the interview. And I'm going to share that with you right now. So yeah, we got the BLOB reboot will change the origins of the iconic monster. David Bruckner is also attached to this with David Goyer, who did the Hellraiser movie, the 2022 movie, which I personally liked, and I really want a 4K of it to add to my collection. But some people didn't like it. I really enjoyed it. I think it could have been expanded on a little bit more and seen a lot more with it, but some people didn't like it. But David Bruckner has a really good past, and he did like The Ritual and a bunch of other stuff that we all love. So I don't think that's a bad situation to be in with him. But this just came out a couple of days ago on the 8th. David Goyer confirms that sci-fi horror is still in the works and will update the origins of the gooey monster. They're still scheduled to be written and directed by David Bruckner, with Goyer and Keith Levine attached to produce. Rights holder Judith Harris will executive produce. And they were speaking with comicbook.com, and he said, you know, how he felt it was going to be. And this is what they said. The use of AI and gene editing and the slippery slope of all that work entails, which I gotta say, just hearing that is not something that excites me. Goyer also reveals that the origins of the titular fleshy mass have changed so that the new BLOB will be man-made phenomena developed on staying on Earth rather than crashing down via meteor as the previous films. That's an iconic thing to me that I really love about the BLOB, is that it came from outer space. There was kind of a spin on it in the 88 version that it was also man-made, and they were doing testing up on a satellite, which didn't bother me because it still crash landed on Earth, and that is like one of my favorite sort of past like horrors. I think it all kind of sort of stems from Lovecraft, you know, with the color out of space, which, you know, the meteor crashing to Earth is just something that, I don't know, to me it's just super iconic and very organic, which I love. You know, I love any kind of like organic stuff like that. I don't know that I'm like super excited about this modern approach that they're talking about with the use of AI and gene editing and the slippery slope all that work entails. One of the decisions we made instead of the blob coming from space isn't something that is made in a lab. There was like some further talk on this in comicbook.com here. He kind of goes into further detail about that and how there's a lot of room to do some really cool stuff with that and the fears that people have with like AI. And I honestly am not that thrilled about it because I think it kind of sounds like it doesn't need to go there, to be honest with you. What I'm considering in my mind is they're thinking of nanotechnology, which is something that they were talking about doing in Videodrome for the reboot of that movie, which I was like, what the fuck are you doing? That movie's all about brainwashing. It's very organic and it's using technology and organic body horror. You know what I mean? I get like you're trying to use like nanotechnology and all this other stuff to make it seem legit, but it doesn't need to have some sort of like workaround when you can just call it organic, in my opinion. I want to give this a chance. The Blob is one of my favorite creatures in just creatures in general because I love seeing people get melted. And I think it's horrifying to think that there's like a blob that's going to melt you. I think it was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, aka Hedorah, that did sort of a blob type thing. And I remember in the movie, like it slings some of its like goo on a building and it like fucking went over a cat and the cat was still alive. And I was like so scared for the cat. And that part always scared me as a kid. So I don't know, like I really like the organic thing of it. I think they could do some pretty cool stuff with maybe like, you know, man-made organics and technology and AI. And I was thinking about, okay, well, what are the like things that people are scared of with AI? Mostly it's just replacing our jobs, but also that we can't distinguish what is real video over, you know, fake. And so I was thinking that on a physical level, like out in like reality and how AI would affect that in a physical format and with like nanotechnology, and it would mimic us as human beings. And what is that? That's kind of like the body snatcher thing again, which is kind of like what Rob Zombie was doing, only I think his was going to be little pieces of that organic matter would infect the person and make them be taken over by the alien, because that's like an old, you know, old thing that's been around forever with a couple of different movies that they did, not just Body Snatchers, but Body Snatchers sort of kind of solidified it. It was like Invasion from Mars, I think, was like one of the first ones that kind of like took over human beings. And then they did the Body Snatchers, which kind of solidified that sort of genre. And now we got, you know, this version, which I'm not super happy with, but I will say that, you know, AI is kind of horrifying in its like current state. And it's not exactly perfect. So if they could kind of press on that button a little bit and make it kind of like creepy and do non-human things that would make you kind of trip out a little bit about it, it might be kind of horrifying. But then I would really hope that they wouldn't use AI to actually make that happen. You know what I mean? I don't know. And Chuck Russell, by the way, who did the 1988 movie, has another movie coming out called The Witchboard, which I actually saw last year and did an entire amazing interview with Chuck Russell, which was a huge honor to have a part of. Chuck Russell in that movie, The Blob 1988, is just so amazing to me. He was just a delight to talk to, and The Witchboard should be coming out soon, but I'll put a link down below for that interview so that you can kind of see. I don't think there's anything spoilerific in it, so don't worry about that with The Witchboard. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think of this whole thing. Is it something that you would be interested in? Is the Blob that important to you? Are you like kind of a big fan of it and prefer that it be organic? Or are you kind of open to like some weird nano sort of biological thing that's like, because we've kind of seen this, right? Like, I don't know if you remember that fucking movie that they did called Transcendence, where they used the nanotechnology and they put the guy's brain into a machine, and then it causes all these things to like decay. We've used nanotechnology before. It's not like the first time, okay? I just think it's overused and it's not used very well. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, David Bruckner is attached to it. I have more faith that he's attached to it, you know, because I feel like he's pretty competent. If he's going to write and direct it, he has a lot more like creative control over it. So I don't know. I'm still kind of up in the air. I would like to see what David Bruckner has. The idea of AI really kind of sort of leans towards that body snatchers thing, which I love the body snatchers too, by the way. I don't want to make anybody think that I don't like that, but I just think it takes away from the creature that is the Blob, right? Like, I don't need to watch body snatchers in my Blob movie. I want to watch the Blob in my Blob movie. What do you guys think? I would love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. Is this something that you're excited for? There's no date, there's no time frame. They're just working on it behind the scenes. And, you know, I hope that it gets some sort of quality to it, you know, with the story and what they do with it, because I feel like it could be possibly something good. So, but thank you guys. I just wanted to share that with you, give you a little bit more of a update. You know, I know there hasn't been anything on the channel. I needed a couple of days to kind of like relax. I got some other stuff planned. I've been watching a lot of movies behind the scenes for another couple of videos that I'm going to be doing. One including the Toxic Avenger, one including some 4 new releases that I'm going to be putting up tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, thank you for supporting this channel. You guys rock. If you're here watching this, listening to this now, shout out in the comment section that you made it to the end, because I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And as always, long live the Void.